Welcome everyone to Good Medicine Way, coming to you from Albuquerque, New Mexico, as usual, in our same location. And pray for us. We're looking at some changes coming up, so we'll let you all know in the future here. And I told a secret to the group just before, so they're in the loop here. So I just want to let you know that you are loved and you're welcome here. So Good Medicine Way has been going on here now. We're going into our third year here at this location. Time for some changes to take place. So we're making those plans. But I want to let you know, I'm going to read a land acknowledgement here that our friend Ken Gingrich wrote here, because this past weekend we did our first gig on the road. So I was invited to speak at the Albuquerque Mennonite Church, who actually started in our same location some years ago, and then they have another location that's only about 3 miles away from here, and then now they're going strong over there. So Leah and Brian were able to come with us and do music, and then I gave them a story that it's a fun story. I'll tell you guys someday, but I think I got to do it in person. It doesn't work. I don't think it'll work good on Zoom. So, but it was fun. It kind of breaks the ice and gets people to say, "Hey, who is this guy?" So, now with that, I want to read that. It's called the Land and Watershed Acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we are on unceded ancestral land of the Sandia people, who remain our neighbors today. With gratitude and respect for them, we steward this land for centuries and for the watershed of the Rio Grande and all it sustains. May we do nature, the living land, water, air, and all our relations, gift of God and creator and sustainer. This was from Ken Gingrich. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Betadaka, who will do our directional prayer.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Uncle Casey. Hello, everybody. I am Kelsey Monroe, aka Umpeta Daka. That means white star in the Pawnee language. I am coming to you from the ancestral homelands of the Caddo, Comanche, Kiowa, and Owichita nations in present-day Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Today I will be sharing with you the 4 directions prayer that I have shared before from Vera Derry. Yeah, there a little background on that is that this person has shared a Lakota prayer to the 4 directions. They're talking about the medicine wheel. In the little introduction here was taught to Vera Derry, by an Ojibwe elder. Sorry. East is the direction of sunrise, represents the birth of new things, the spring, the fire of life, and is associated with matters of the soul. It is represented by the color yellow. South represents youth, sweetness, and the water element. Most rivers tend to run south. It is most often associated with our emotions in the summer or season of summer, and it's represented by red. The west is the direction of sunset, represents adulthood, reaping the harvest of good work, the earth and stones, and entering the dark cave of hibernation and creativity. It is associated with the physical body and the season of autumn and is represented by the color black. North is the direction of the ancestors and the wisdom of the elders, both alive and deceased. The realm of the great return to spirit. We look to the north for inner healing and insight from those who have walked before us. It's associated with our mind and the season of winter and is represented by the color white. So I just wanted to share a little bit of that, considering it is Indigenous Peoples Day. So, Creator, it is I. Thank you for today's sunrise, for the breath of life within me, and for all of your creations. Creator, hear my prayer and honor my prayer. As the day begins with the rising sun, I ask, Spirit Keeper of the East, Brother Eagle, be with me. Fly high as you carry my prayers to the Creator. May I have eyes as sharp as yours, so I am able to see truth and hope on the path I have chosen. Guide my step and give me courage to walk the circle of my life with honesty and dignity. Spirit keeper of the South, Wolf, be with me. Help me to remember to love and feel compassion for all mankind. Help me to walk my path with joy and love for myself, for others, for the four-legged, the winged ones, the plants, and all creation upon Mother Earth. Show me it is right for me to make decisions with my heart, even if at times my heart becomes hurt. Help me to grow and nurture my self-worth in all ways. Spirit keeper of the West, Brown Bear, be with me. Bring healing to the people I love and to myself. Bring into balance the physical, mental, and spiritual, so I am able to know my place on this earth, in life and in death. Heal my body, heal my mind, and bring light, joy, and awareness to my spirit. Spirit keeper of the North, White Buffalo, be with me. As each day passes, help me to surrender with grace the things of my youth. Help me to listen to the quiet and find serenity and comfort in the silences as they become longer. Give me wisdom so I am able to make wise choices in all things which are put in front of me. And when my time for my change of worlds has come, let me go peacefully, without regrets, for the things I neglected to do as I walked along my path. Mother Earth, thank you for your beauty and for all you have given me. Remind me never to take from you more than I need, and remind me to always give back more than I take. Thank you. Aho. All right, passing it back to you, Uncle Casey.
Right. All my nieces and nephews that are out there. And this past Sunday too, when we were over at the Albuquerque Mennonite Church, Ken was introducing me, and he's older than me, and he says, like, you know, in our service here, we call those older ones uncles and aunts, and so when I got back up there, I said, well, I want to thank you, Uncle Ken. So first time, so I have an uncle here in the house, so to say.
Uncle, brother, cousin?
Uncle, brother, cousin, friend, good old buddy here. So I want to say gratitude. We are thankful today that we are recognizing Indigenous Peoples Day. And I wanted to share, I wore all the bling that I have today. So I got this shirt on here that I'm sharing. This was made by a lady up in Michigan who makes it hats, pins, paintings of this design. I got my Potawatomi hat on, and I'm going to take off one of my shoes because I got to show you what I do on the side. So these are my card. My daughter says my card for making shoes now. She says it calls Sick Kickers. Sick Kickers. SICC. KIT Kickers. Sick Kickers. So I've been making these for myself, and I got my first professional order from a lady in Michigan. So I'm working on those right now. Only thing, they're like size 5. They're like your little dinky little shoes. So cool. So I've been doing that. So I want to turn it over to the Grovers tonight. We're just having fun tonight because it is our day.
All right, we're going to do the Fly song by Guy Peters. Words up so you can sing and dance in your own space there.
Round dance we did at his church. It was like 40 some people on the round dance in their sanctuary area there. So it was really, really cool. And we did like we always wanted to do here, a big round dance. So we had the whole crowd up on their feet moving.
One guy was 90 with an oxygen.
Ooh, he went for it, man.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, guys.
So you guys have your marching orders. If a guy that's 90 with an oxygen tank can dance along. So
All right.
Hey,
Here comes you. inspired there. I just felt so good with that song. Yeah. And when you guys sing, you make me sound good too. Yeah, you guys make me sound good. Yeah, I want to turn it over to Leah Grover. We're going to go through spoke signals and our giveaway time. And we got.
Are we doing the creators part?
Oh, where did I miss it? I'm sorry. We're going to flip back up and rewind and start over. Creator's Prayer. Ryan.
All right. So today is not a sign language feature day, but we're still going to do some of the sign language. So we'll read through the prayer twice. The first time we read it, I'll have all the words up, and depending on how your screen's set up, you might see a little picture of Leah McCoo sign language, doing sign language. And then I'll take the words down, and then we'll all try to recite it together as best as we can remember and do the sign language as best as we can remember. So today's memory challenge day. So let me put the words up first, and then we'll all.
But everyone should stay muted, right?
I mean, it won't be that bad.
Won't be that bad? Okay.
If you're not muted, like a lot of times, depending on how your connection is, there'll be like a 1 or 2 second delay before your words get in and whatever. So sometimes it gets kind of jumbly. But yeah, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, if you're muted, that'd be better. All right.
Okay. So Creator sets free, shows us how to pray. O great Spirit, our Father from above, we honor your name as sacred and holy. Bring your good road to us, where the beauty of your ways in the spirit world above is reflected in the earth below. Provide for us day by day the elk, the buffalo, the salmon, the corn, the squash, and the wild rice. All the things we need for each day. Release us from the things that we have done wrong. In the same way, we release others who have done wrong to us. Guide us away from the things that tempt us to stray from your good road, and set us free from the evil one and his worthless ways. I hope, may it be so. All right, now we'll take the words down so we can all see each other, and we'll try to say and sign it all together. So here we go. Creator sets free, shows us how to pray. O great Spirit, our Father from above, we honor your name as sacred and holy. Bring your good road to us, where the beauty of your ways in the spirit world above is reflected in the earth below. Provide for us day by day the elk, the buffalo, the salmon, the corn, the squash, and the wild rice. All the things we need for each day. Release us from the things that we have done wrong. In the same way, we release others who have done wrong to us. Guide us away from the things that tempt us to stray from your good road, and set us free from the evil one and his worthless ways. I hope, may it be so.
Hey, some of you doing really well on that. That's really good. Okay, now we're back on track here. My track, I guess. I got off track. So, smoke signals and giveaway. Leah?
Alrighty, well, I'll give you the smoke signal for the women's discussion group, and we are going through Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer, and she is a Potawatomi lady who is got her PhD in environmental science, and in this book she blends that Western science worldview with her Indigenous Potawatomi beliefs in nature as our kin. And so that is every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, for all the women. And you'll find that Zoom link on the Good Medicine Way Facebook group. You go up at the top left, you click on Browse and then Events, and it'll give you that. We get that up there by Wednesday. And you want to talk about the other?
Yes, yeah. Like I said, we finished one book, and Dean, you remember, we did really well in that book. That was real heavy material in that book, and we're going to even get heavier this time. So we're going to be reading Pagan Christianity, and it's you got to read the book to know what the title is talking about. It isn't about worshiping pagan. It's about the history behind the forms that we use in our Christian way of presenting our worship and songs, and the way we pray, things we do in our services. So that's going to start here, coming up real soon. A couple more weeks on that, on this October 24th at 7 o'clock p.m. Probably go for an hour and a half, probably. But come prepared with your questions after. So spend your time reading it, marking your book up, and sharing, so that when you come on, you can jump right into the discussion. So that'll be coming up. So looking forward to that. And this is just the primer. I'm hoping that this will be just the primer for another book that we'll do. I'm hoping it's a companion book to this called Reimagining Church. And it leads you into an organic way of doing the service that we'll probably carry on to our new location. As when we carry there to start, maybe pray about this. We might start a second service sometime in the future that will be more of a in-person worship gathering, but we'll still have you guys on a Zoom format, so you'll be able to share that time with us as well. So there's a lot of connecting, a lot of moving parts in this too, so pray for us on that.
All right, and if anyone else has any things they'd like to give as a smoke signal, you can put it in any of the chats, and we'll make sure needed attention goes to that.
I'll share one.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. This coming Friday and Saturday, the Morgan and church family is going to be having a kind of combined yard sale over at my place here in Albuquerque. Laura's sister is going to be making Indian tacos for that day, fresh. Right, we'll probably make them right on site, so we'll put it out there. I think Laura's going to be working on a nice flyer for that, so we'll probably get a lot of people coming, because if you don't know Albuquerque area, almost every weekend you can get Indian tacos somewhere in town, because somebody's always supplying those, and it's great because you could get 3 tacos a day if you want it at different locations. So we're going to do that. They're going to raise money for a trip they want to do for Oklahoma, and we're going to try to thin out our stuff and make more room in our houses for more stuff, I guess you could say. So that's going to happen this week, 13th and 14th at my place.
Deal.
All right, Dave just put in the chat that West Virginia University is holding a bunch of events tomorrow, and there is a link in the chat there, and I put it in the discussions to how you can view it online. So yeah, if you're interested in that, take a look in the chat and get the info for that. And then I thought I heard somebody trying to say something.
Oh, I got one more.
I was gonna say, Uncle Casey, that sounds really amazing. What's going to be happening this weekend, and what's going to be happening in the future? You guys are going to be coming to Oklahoma. That's awesome. I hope to see you guys. And I'm just like, everybody, let's go. Let's go over there. Let's go get some stuff. Let's go help with the fundraising and make this happen. It would be really amazing. It would be really amazing. Eh? But yeah, I just wanted to, throw that out there because I'm just like so excited now. Thank you. Thank you, Uncle Casey. That there's joy in my heart right now.
I have something. Something up there. It looks like we're going to try to start a Native American church in my area, and I've been encouraged by some fellow natives in the area to pick it up and help start. So if you know of anybody in northern Indiana or southern Michigan that is looking for a Native church, you can send them my way. And you can contact probably Leah. She'd probably be the easiest way to get the contact to me. So you can be praying about that and see what the Lord does.
Yeah, I'm going to try to help give her some guidance and approaches, so maybe she don't make as many mistakes as I made. So it might go easier for her. But yeah, she's working with some good people that I know that are giving her some guidance as well. So kudos, Karen. Good job.
All right.
And in a more serious vein, like I think we should all remember to be praying for Israel and the Middle East.
Oh man.
More conflicts and war breaking out there. Regardless of what you think about the politics of it and who's right or who's wrong, the reality of war is that usually it's the innocent people who are just trying to get by and live are the ones that end up suffering the lion's share of the consequences. So yeah, war is never good, even when it is necessary. So let's pray for peace over Israel and peace for the whole world.
Yes, and one of our group hasn't been here for a little while because she has been over there in Israel, and it's Jamie Becca. She's been over there ministering, so I haven't heard from her. I'll probably try to connect with her in the next couple of days to see if she is fine and that she's out of danger, because she's been spending several months over there in Israel too. So pray for Jamie and her safety. Last thing I want to share with you is that on November 9th here in Albuquerque, if you want to take a journey to come with us, me and my family are going to be at the Albuquerque High School powwow. And this is a powwow that we helped start many years ago, and we've been participating for years. All of my kids have danced there, and we're going to be showing up to be a part of this powwow. And I'll be dressed out in my northern men's traditional outfit, sharing. And usually when I'm there, they call on me to various times to do things with them. So that's going to be November 9th at the Albuquerque High School here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Yeah.
Good deal. All
Let's
right.
see what we got here. We're going to give away.
We can move on to our giveaways time. So this is a time when if you'd like to reciprocate, if you've been blessed by or encouraged by what we've been offering at Good Medicine Way, you can give back monetarily if you like. We'll put up our little QR code blanket here as we're doing the next song. You could give that way. Or also at the top of our Good Medicine Way Facebook group is a logo to click on to donate through PayPal or another type of card. You can message me, Leah Grover, on Facebook if there's another way you'd like to donate, whether it's check or if there's been something else growing in your heart that you'd like to, share your skills or somehow with Good Medicine Way, something like that. So here we go with another song.
All right. And we're going to be doing Michael Jacobs' They Come Dancing. So if you just want to give an offering of dance, that would be
Yeah, that's encouraging.
Going to be a sneak up.
Yahweh, Yahweh, Yahweh,
very, very nice. Great way to celebrate and recognize our Indigenous peoples day to day. So we're going to go into our scripture reading today. And Eshe is going to be reading from, looks like 2 Corinthians 4, 8 and 9. And after this, we'll go into our silent time and then our speaker.
Like Uncle Casey said, I'm going to be reading from the second letter to the people of Corinth, chapter 4, verses 8 through 9. And it says, trouble surrounds us and presses in on us, but we know there is always a way out. Even when we do not know which way to go, we never lose hope or give in to fear. We are hunted down and mistreated, but the Great Spirit never abandons us. Even when we are beaten to the ground, we get up and keep on walking.
Yeah.
All right, so I am pleased to bring you our esteemed uncle, Casey Church. He's got a lot of letters after his name in the official and academic world. I'm not going to try to get through all those because I'll forget them. But he's an Indigenous warrior who's been in this struggle for a long time. And he definitely is a picture of resilience. The Bible might call that long-suffering or doing, not growing weary in well-doing. But in the modern parlance, we usually call that resilience. He's been a guide to many, an encourager to many, a wonderful father and husband, and just a great leader that is much in need in our Indigenous communities in these times. So without further ado, pass it over to Uncle Casey Church.
All right, thank you, Brian. Thank you for that introduction. Yes, this past weekend, the whole team here got to go to a church here in town, the Albuquerque Mennonite Church. Our friend, our Uncle Ken here, invited us to come there and we got to share. And gave me a microphone. Boy, you gotta be careful when you give me a microphone. It's like I got the floor there and I was to share my story, and I shared a story of the resistance and the resilience that we went through. because it was such a battle. You know, Ken, he grew up in an area where I grew up, and where the native people of the area at once, you know, lived and thrived and moved and had life in that area. And then in the 1830s, the tides all changed, and the settlers moving more to the west came into our area there, worked on the land, was able to work the land out of the native people's hands, and we moved them west to what they called Indian Territory out there in Oklahoma and Kansas. So our trail, unlike the Trail of Tears that we know so much about, the Cherokees and the Trail of Tears, many different tribes had the names of their trails. Our trail, the Potawatomi from Michigan to Kansas, was called the Trail of Death. They just told it like it was, because even though we resisted, and I think if someone was to forcefully move you from your land, you would resist as well. And Karen, you're in that area that's going to be starting a ministry and being open and aware that that land was all we can't say it belonged. It was the homeland of the native people that lived and thrived and grew there. And that was, we got to think about
Why
that.
we're called Indiana.
No, I know. Yep, in Indianapolis, you know, all these words and all the names of the places up there too. You just can't go down hardly any town in streets and neighborhoods where there's not a native word that says that. So our people thrived. And just a quick story of my ancestry in that area. We had to go through the 1830s, and we resisted. We made every attempt to change the way things were coming towards us and hitting us from all sides. Many of them succumbed to being corralled and forced marched out to Kansas, but a grandfather of mine, 5 generations removed, so I'm a 5th grandson of this Leopold Pokagon, who started the Pokagon Band of Potawatomi in that area. He was the leader in that area. Some may call him a chief, but he really never went by that. There were other names that we used for our native leaders. And he was able to talk with his several families that didn't want to leave. They had land that they were living on, and most of them had houses that they were already working on at that time, and they had farms that they were trying to build, because the way they put it there is Leopold Pokagon told the families, we have to play this game if we're going to survive and remain in this land. And so what he did is he got them to agree and make changes in their lives and the way they lived by giving up and not doing their ceremonies that they used to do. They sent their kids to school. They changed the way they dressed. They stopped speaking their language, you know, and that, you know, in the homes it was really carried on, but when they got into community, they stopped speaking their language. They started having ministry where they would have church services, and Dawes, in some of his words that I read, there were like 5 things that you had to do to become civilized. And one of them was that to be civilized, you have to drink whiskey. So, of all things. So what Leopold Pokagon was able to do in his time of resisting is that he coalesced them to make these changes, start farming, and start building houses, and making those changes they need. And then he went to Detroit. He went to Detroit to the Catholic diocese that was there, and he asked them to send in a priest that would come out to these families and start a service with them. So he did. A priest came out there. In the beginning years of this tribe, they were called the Catholic Potawatomi. And it was later on that they became, after the namesake of Leopold Pokagon, they became the Pokagon Band of Potawatomi. And from that time in the 1830s, the people, the ones that didn't go to Kansas, but hid out with other tribes, went into Wisconsin and hid out, and went into Canada over Detroit and hid out. Those tribes created family groups there. And when this roundup time was over and the settlers started coming in and all of that, pressure was gone, the people, some of them came back, but what happened then is communities began to grow where those Potawatomis were. And so today there are 9 bands of Potawatomi now that exist in the Midwest, and 2 of them out there in Kansas, the Prairie Band and the Citizen Band Potawatomi. So we were resilient as well. And with that, I want to, with that kind of story, that's my history of my people there. And my story myself is that I have resisted the way that the church was presented to us. And for the last 30 years, I've made so many strides to try to change the way that church is done to Native people and really pull for that. We can retain our identity as Native American people and still be believers in Jesus Christ. There wasn't anything that had to change. We were just told and forcefully made to make those changes. That wasn't right, and we resisted. But the resilience of us is that we're still going and we're still moving forward. And so the rest of this evening is I want to give you a chance to voice maybe a story of your people, something you'd like to say in recognition of Indigenous Peoples Day. Some of you just may say, I'm so glad that Columbus is no longer the day. A funny little story here is that the Navajo Nation government, it used to be that they would take off and have a holiday for Columbus Day. But now that it's called Indigenous Peoples Day, they work on these days too, because a national holiday is just recognized as an Indigenous Peoples Day. So there's some changes that still need to take place, but I want to leave it up to you. Raise your hand if you want to share something. I know Brian, he's got something to share as well. And I want to recognize Brian. He introduced me so well. But Brian is a great component to Good Medicine Way. His theology, his mind, his music, and his wife here, they are a great part of this program that we're doing here. And we have made some strides to do some things very differently, and praying that through all of our efforts, we will be able to celebrate and move on into bigger and better things. So I'll give it to Brian for a little bit, and then we'll open it up to everyone else to share.
Actually, does anybody have something that they're yearning to talk about? To get it going? I think Karen's got one. You can go ahead and go, Karen.
I can fill in a little bit about the Potawatomi. There's a sister at church that their family from the Potawatomi had joined into the German Amish. So she was raised Amish. She looks very Amish German, but her brothers and sister and mother and dad all look Potawatomi. They all look Native American. Her brother did some extensive research and found, in fact, they found the connection, and he rejoined the Potawatomi and is now one of their leading chiefs.
It's one of the 3 R's.
Yeah.
Which one?
Yeah. No, the one thing I was gonna talk about was that just the whole idea of just fighting for what you believe in and what's important to you. And my story for that is, I spent a lot of my life in the Chicago area, and I was involved with a lot of anarchist punk rock folks, and there's always some kind of movement or some kind of action or some kind of something going on, and just when you've been involved in that kind of resistance kind of movements for decades, you have a lot of experiences of where people really tried to work hard and then things didn't work out. It just seems like nothing's ever changing, and just the status quo is just too rooted in their established ways, and you can't seem to move them. And so in our moving back down here to Albuquerque, I was in kind of in a very kind of like fatalistic kind of mindset when we moved back down here, and through a bunch of crazy circumstances, I ended up back at college, which I had never intended, but God had His ideas for things. So I was going to college, and I was taking a lot of different classes from Native folks, and kind of incorporating a lot of Native studies into the other stuff I was doing. And I remember when I was there, and this was like, this must have been 2014 or 2015, and one of my professors, he was a graduate student at the time, and he was really involved in this group here. There's the Kiva Club that's part of UNM, and then out of that grew the Red Nation. And it had been kind of a small thing for a while, but then when this guy, Nick Estes, kind of got involved, he really had a big vision for it. And he, and I don't think they were married then yet, I think they were just going out. Melanie Yazzie, who's now a professor at UNM, they just really just had a vision to really change things in a positive way for Native folks in the city of Albuquerque. And I remember when he was talking about some stuff, and he was like, "Oh yeah, we're going to have this action, whatever, and we're going to be petitioning the city to change Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day." And this is before anybody had called it Indigenous Peoples Day anywhere. And I was just like, oh man, I'm like, okay, I'll come and support you. I'm just like, man, is the city going to listen to like a bunch of college students? I was just like, I don't know, but yeah, whatever. It's something that should happen, so I'll come and support you and whatever. And so I went to the thing, and whatever, and then before I knew it, a couple months later, there was an article in the main paper in Albuquerque about city council considering changing Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. And I was like, what the heck? Like, how did they pull that one off? And and then before you know it, then the state was changing it to Indigenous Peoples Day, and now it's like nationally recognized as Indigenous People Day. It's really funny that you mentioned that the Navajos are working, because I get it as a holiday since I work at the VA hospital. I'm a federal worker. I get it as a holiday, so I don't know why. I don't know what happened with the Navajo Nation. They're a little bit behind on that or something. But yeah. So I mean, that was just one thing that sticks out in my mind as like when they started talking about it, I was just like, oh yeah, that's a cool idea. But man, how are you ever going to pull that off? And man, and it didn't take a long time. It was quick. But by the time, I heard them talking about it and doing it, it was just like a matter of months before the ball started rolling. So, just to like we talked about not growing weary in well-doing, because it does get hard. And when you're in a position where you're living a life where a lot of your time is spent in resistance, that can really take it out of you and be tiring. So, yeah, so just to encourage people, like not every single thing you do is going to work out, but don't ever give up and taking on those battles, because there will be ones that do work out, and those will be an inspiration to others, and can start whole movements. So yeah, that's what I had to say.
Well, that's cool. Laura and I went to, it's a park down here called Tigway Park, and that's where they had an event recognizing Indigenous Peoples Day, and there were all the many Native organizations there, from health to fitness to support, all of these groups that were there, and there was a lot of politicking going on because they do not have a Native American on the Albuquerque public school board, a Native American, and they mentioned it up there on the mic, and they were saying the Native population here in Albuquerque is 1/10 of the population of the city, and there's not a representative in the school board. So they're striving. There were like 4 different people there that were campaigning to be representatives for the school board. I don't know. Watch Laura. she would probably want to be on there too. And I know both of us have been approached at different times for different organizations. But that's something that will happen too. That will come about, and the city and the mayor and everybody can pull together and make something happen like Indigenous Peoples Day, that we will get a representation on the school board to make changes here too. So, anyone else? All right, up there in the corner, Jennifer, unmute yourself.
I can share a little bit about on my res in La Coudray, Band of Ojibwe, in Wisconsin. We were doing some research and we found that we have some ancestors in my family who, instead of going to the government-run school because there's all kinds of abuse happening there, they were invited to go learn from the Catholic missionaries further north. And when they became, like, one of my ancestors became a Catholic nun, and her and another Ojibwe priest, after they were ordained years later, came back to our res, and they opened a new school after getting the government-run school shut down. And the kids there were allowed to, be native and learn our language, and they did a lot to preserve our language and our cultural ways within the religious school setting. And I just think it was very resilient of them to, they left, but then came back to help the people. And I think it's really great that they did that. And I'm so thankful because my tribe now has a lot of access to our language and our culture because of the fact that they used their education that they got to, preserve that for us. And that's just, that's a blessing out of something, terrible.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, it really reminds me like the whole concept of thinking of 7 generations down. That's like 100 or so years when you're thinking 7, generations down. And yeah, and just their willingness to, like, I'm willing to sacrifice my own life and whatever hopes and dreams that I may have had to go and become a Catholic nun or a priest, so that I can come back to my community and build something that's worth having. I mean, just the foresight to even conceive of that, and then just the courage to go ahead and do it. And that's really, it's an amazing thing.
Yes. Anyone else? I know up here we always have a speaker, and the 3 of us, we always have something to say, but we wanted to open it up and let you all. I know I'll have to start calling on people down here. Eshe.
you see everybody squirming around. Doing all that.
Everybody, they're looking out, they're starting doing something
like in
else.
school, everyone's like trying to sink down in the chair.
Uncle Casey saw me squirming, that's why he knew.
I lost eye contact there with a lot of you.
reminded me of my childhood days in class. um, no, I mean, I don't really know what to say. Oh, you have something you want to say, Mooney? No, okay, he doesn't want to say anything. Um, no, I mean, I'm writing a paper. That was, I don't know when it's gonna be published. I'm co-authoring it with a couple more people about it's supposed to be for Indigenous Peoples Day, but I just find it fascinating how Columbus Day, the original Columbus Day, was made a US holiday, and Columbus didn't even land in what is now the continental US. And so I think Columbus Day is actually a way of helping us acknowledge the unity of Indigenous peoples beyond colonial borders, within the Americas and beyond. So I think it's important to be reminded of that, is that our struggle is a common struggle as human beings, against the powers that be. And I think as Jesus followers, we're meant to be the voice of resistance to the powers that be. I'm reminded of in Acts where, yeah. All right, 1 second, I'm trying to talk, okay?
Can I do that? Like that?
Yeah, you can go ahead. All right. About Acts, where it talks about the early movements and how they were talked about and saying there's another ruler. Besides Caesar, there's actually a different person in charge. It's not Caesar. And I think that was really radical at the time, to say that in the Roman Empire, that you're actually not in charge. There's someone else, something more going on in the world than you all are aware of. And I think as followers of Jesus and as Native people especially, and that combination is really potent, because we have the ability to remind the rest of the movement, the rest of the church, of the prophetic calling that we share. Those are my thoughts.
How did your group, or you and your family, I want to show you a picture of with Laura and I. This is how we celebrated today. And so, if you haven't seen the post yet, it's to show you that. We're celebrating with ice cream from Baskin Robbins. Yeah, this Indigenous Peoples Day, we're celebrating with ice cream from Baskin Robbins. That was just after we came back from the big to-do we had here at the park. Yeah, there was like 6 native food vendors there. So, oh man, it was always something to eat there. The smell of fried food was in the air. Boy. And extra, I don't know if everybody knows, but this is the week that we have the International Balloon Fest. And our population triples at that time. So every hotel is full. There's bus loads of people running around, and it's a madhouse around here. But it like brings in so much economy during this time. Yeah, it's a great time.
Actually, his comment reminded me of, we often forget that like most of the New Testament was written by people under oppression. And I think we forget that dynamic to it. And I think you can really see it in Paul's writings. I think that's why Paul gets misinterpreted a lot, because he was often writing to people who he's trying not to get them in trouble. So he's speaking truth to them, but he has to kind of wrap it up in an unusual way, so that the authorities don't feel like, so the authorities don't recognize oh, this guy is writing to these people to tell them to not follow Caesar and follow somebody else. He can't say that directly without getting everybody in the church arrested. So I think it's easy for us in our comfortable modern day to forget the conditions that these people were living under not only who are writing the letters, but who are receiving the letters. And it really kind of gives you a different perspective on them.
Yeah, just as we take a look at the words of the title of the message today, is that we're going into, resistance. As much as we pushed back, we were just overcome by the masses and the overpowering, the technology of the guns and the soldiers. Somebody made a point here not too long ago. They said, that they showed a map of Canada and the United States, is that we were taken over forcefully because there's over 100 different places called that. The first word in their name is called fort. Yeah. So you got the word fort in so many names in Canada and the United States that just show you that there was a military mindset to taking what was not theirs. So we had resistance. It took that much to quell that and kind of get us on reservations. But the resilience that we have managed to survive the boarding schools. We managed to raise families, create lives for ourselves within this new economy that we live in now, and we have to make a go of it, because life's not going to be the same. The Potawatomi that were relocated from Michigan had to find a new way to call home in Kansas and Oklahoma. That was not what they were used to. When you come from a land that's just mega water, rivers and ponds and the Great Lakes, and then you go out to Kansas where you got prairie and you have streams and some rivers, there's a lot of adaptation. But the big thing that I see in these years that have come about is the last word is reclamation, is that we are coming back to a place that we're gaining and we're re-identifying with who we are, and we're making big strides. To have Indigenous Peoples Day is one of the biggest strides to make in recognition of who we are, and what, and making getting the country to own up to their history. Yeah, that's a big one, is that let them know. And I made mention to that, is that in the service yesterday, is that, there were bad things that happened, and if you're of a white culture here, it was a lot of the mindset of the time that created the changes that we have today. Today the people in the pew might not have that same feeling towards it, but the mindset of those years, 100 years ago, was different, and it was to make changes in the world that affected the lives of people. Okay, Namar.
Go ahead, Namar.
Can you all hear me okay? Yeah. All right. So good evening, everyone. Great to see you all. Yeah. And a great, much love and appreciation and celebration to you all and for this day. So in light of what Casey had just said, here's my thoughts about today. As I think about this celebrated day, I think about, again, the history. And you notice, or maybe you have not known, but there are many Italians who still revere Christopher Columbus, even though they knew that he was indeed a slave owner who was on voyage to help bring wealth to the kings and queens in Europe. King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that, but I think so. So you have that. Likewise, here in America, it is quite common to celebrate the quote unquote founding fathers of the United States of America when they themselves were slaveholders. A handful of the first presidents of the United States were slaveholders, and yet they are celebrated for their heroism despite their support and notion of increasing slavery. And so you see how it is within the European or Western culture to celebrate heroes despite the evil that they've committed. And with that, we notice this. We notice that it is quite amazing how they're willing to say, well, they were just victims of their time. That's what's been said by Italians. They were just victims of their time. And how Americans will say, well, they were just people of their time. That's just the way it was. And yet we still find ways to celebrate them. The founding fathers of the United States of America are the founding fathers of the United States of America. They are not the founding fathers of this land. This land is of the indigenous, and I appreciate my personal family history to intermingle and to be welcomed by the natives down in Mississippi when we were taken away, talking about my father's side, when we were taken away from West Africa, being of the Mandingo tribe of West Africa and the Bantu peoples of West Africa, among other tribes, taken away from that and stripped of our identity. And yet we were welcomed and embraced and intermarried and intermingled with the natives here in Mississippi. And whenever I talk to any of my aunts, any of my elders, there is really nothing nice to say about Christopher Columbus Day. And so this is my perspective of this day. Is what I'm feeling right. It's what I'm thinking right now as we think about history and how it is revered within white Western culture, the heroism despite the evil. You know, the Italians are doing that with Columbus. The Americans are doing that with the presidents of the United States, who have had a history of holding slaves. You know.
You.
Yeah, it also reminds me of how even with, our so-called founding fathers, like their best ideas they got from the Haudenosaunee people. Like it wasn't like these were ideas that grew out of European colonialism. Like the best ideas that are in our country's framework really came from the indigenous people of these lands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, Namar, in actuality, the oppression started with William Bradford that came over from the colony, because I've written my family history with 1,200 pages and have done a lot of reading on the underside of it. The oppression really started with William Bradford. It was within basically until he could be safe enough. He was gracious to the natives, but as soon as he was able to have the upper hand, he began to oppress. So it really goes even all the way back to the very beginning of the colony and the oppression. One of the first things they did within weeks of being settled into the spring, by the spring they got through the winter where a lot of them died. In the springtime, they brought fire water to my forefathers, the Wampanoags, to intoxicate them so that they would not kill them. And they did it willfully and purposefully, and it's recorded in his records. So it really goes all the way back to the very beginning.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Yes. Thank you.
Share a book here that of the atrocities that were done to the indigenous peoples of the Americas is that to go through this book, it takes a strong stomach. It's called An Indigenous People's History of the United States. Yeah, that's a must read if you got to get a true glimpse into what happened to the indigenous people here. It's by Roxanne Dunbar, RTIZ. Yeah, find that one, look that one over. Caution, it is very, very explicit. Yeah. And Indigenous Peoples' History of the United States. Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz. That one there will shake you up a little bit.
All right, so Eshe is deferring to Helen. So Helen, you're up.
Well, Eshe, that's very chivalrous, but I don't expect you to do that. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Go ahead.
The token has been passed back. No. All right. Yeah, it's in the spirit of everybody kind of sharing about their people, it's kind of hard for me to speak about my people that come from here, because I'm both European and indigenous native ancestries. But I'm just now, well, I'm say just now, but I wasn't born connecting with my indigeneity. So it's something I'm still returning into. And still finding, because I've never been to my own homelands in what is now called the state of Guatemala. But I could tell you a little about the history and how it connects to everybody else's story, and to the present day battles that are being fought, in the spirit of everybody sharing. So, with Columbus coming, and I encourage everybody, I think it's good to celebrate too, because I think a lot of times, as Native people, we've been traumatized so much that we stay in the trauma. Sometimes we stay in the negativity, and we have to take that time as well to grieve, yes, but also to celebrate. And I think that's important. I'm reminded that because there's so much negativity in the world to go around, and it can really do a number on our psyches. And part of that resilience was finding things to celebrate. But anyways, I encourage everybody to read about Columbus's journals, his own journals, when you get a time, because there's a lot of myths about Columbus, and who he was and what he did that have especially been inculcated within the quote unquote American consciousness. And so it's you read his journals, you'll see a part of what they did when they met the Taino people and people in the Caribbeans, and how the Spaniards treated them. And it'll completely change, perhaps, or give you a more realistic picture of who the man in Columbus was and what he was about. It was not a very pretty picture. But with my people, I believe I come from the Cachaquel Maya people. I'm not sure, because there's like 23 different Maya groups that I could belong to. But when the Spaniards came to our lands, they they burned a lot of our, well, they either pushed a lot of our statues and such down into the waterways and into the rivers, and destroyed all those and burned most of the codices. There's only like 4 or 5 codices that are still in existence, and they're partial because the Spaniards burned the rest because they considered it witchcraft and devil worship, to my understanding. And instead of taking the time to understand us, they condemned us. And I think it's important to recognize also that the lower part of what we now call the United States, or the colonial state of the United States, was also colonized by Spain. As a matter of fact, I'm sure some of you, or maybe a lot of you, are aware that there was a protest against Onate in New Mexico. I believe it was north of Albuquerque. I forget the exact town. Oh, Espanola, New Mexico, protesting the conquistador Onate. So Spaniards had a large reach. The borders have changed throughout time, and colonial powers have had their influences here and there and everywhere in this continent. But it's important to be reminded that as original peoples, as First Nations peoples, we are still here. And so, like, how this connects to the present and my family personally, in the 1980s, there was, well, from the let's see when the war started, 1960 to 1996. So it was a 36-year war in Guatemala. And if you don't know too much about the colonial state of Guatemala, so all these are colonial states that are based off of empires that are created by either the English or the Spanish, so on. And Guatemala especially has a very colonial and racist history. But they what happened there was nothing short of outrageous, and just a continuation of the 500-year oppression of indigenous peoples in that civil war, the civil war that happened, 36-year civil war. 200,000 innocent people, largely indigenous Maya people, were murdered. And you read some of the Spanish records of babies being burned alive and were hit against rocks, or women disemboweled. Don't want to go into too much detail, even though I just did, but a lot of really atrocious stuff. The same things were done up until the 1990s there against largely indigenous people. And Indians are still considered, Native people are still considered, if you have brown skin, you're considered ugly, you're considered subhuman or dirty. And so I think it's important to remember that, and my family my father's side came north because of that civil war. And my father was actually part of the military, and part of the large reason why my family's on my father's side is here now. But when I put the pieces together, Uncle Casey was talking about his Potawatomi people. Namar, you were talking about your people in what is now Africa, and the different nations that we come from. And Jennifer, you were talking about your people as well, and your Ojibwe people. And the common thread is that it's all based in colonialism. It's all based in just taking. It's based in not seeing the value of people who did not have a certain skin color, who did not share the same cultural backgrounds. I think as what Good Medicine Way, the beauty that I find here, and the beauty that I find with indigenous people in general, is just the realizations that we're all, like Uncle Casey says, we're all welcome. And you are just as human as anybody else. You are just as much an image bearer as anybody else. So I usually don't, you can probably tell I don't share that part of myself too much, but I just felt impressed to share a little bit. But I'll go ahead and hand it back over. I think Helen and Joe got something to say.
Yeah, I'll lighten things up here just a little bit here. Getting pretty heavy. Richard Twist, he used to say, when you were mentioning about skin color, he says, we got the brown skin, and we got black skin, and then we got the white people, we got the white skin. He used to say, what do we call them? We call them snowflake, Whitey, what do we call white people? And he says, well, because white people are so much inferior to us with color on our skin, he says, let's call them pigmentally challenged.
Pigmentally challenged.
Go ahead. Who's up? Helen?
Yes, it's one of the pigmentally challenged people here. Yeah. When I was listening to some of what you were saying, I was thinking about how often in colonialism, the people in power tend to define goodness around themselves, whether it's the color of their skin or their actions. They interpret it as good. Like I remember hearing an African American saying when he was in school, the flesh toned crayons were all like those of white people. And I know I grew up in a different generation, so I had to settle for peach out of the Crayola. He made a point that, we've defined it all around ourselves, or taking acts of violence and how I'm looking for the right, well, extermination, I guess, and considering it heroic and brave, or even reinterpreting the beauty of a pristine land as being undeveloped. And it was like the white people had to come and cultivate, and their idea of culture and cultivation was destroying the land. But I think I see that in a lot of media and stuff. I'm glad I don't see it here. In fact, I think I feel like I see it being reversed or revealed, calling it out for what it is. So I'm thankful that we have a place where we can do that, and I encourage everyone to continue it. That isn't as wise as what Eshe was saying, but it was something I noticed and felt the need to say. So, Joe, I'd like to pass it on to you.
Oh, I was glad Casey told a joke. I got a funny one. I'm gonna tell on myself because sometimes I say things and I think they're funny, but they don't go over very well. So I met a Spanish guy one time. Yeah, he was the keynote speaker at this giant missions conference, and then the missions conference, there was only like 3 brown people there, or I guess 2 brown people and a Spanish guy. So, I mean, I could tell this differently. It kind of sounds like a bar joke, but two brown people and a Spanish guy sit down at this table, and the young lady, she was from South America, and I was late to the parties a little bit, so they were sitting there kind of chit-chatting, but she was very like shut off body language wise, right? And she was kind of like uncomfortable with this guy, and so I sit down and we're eating our food, and he goes, "Oh, Joe Lopez." And he's like, that's a noble like name from Spain. And I said, yeah. I said, yeah, it was a gift from my Spanish overlords. And it took him a minute because he was translating it. And I said, yeah, that's what I mean. And he was like, he got really pissed at me, turned like, he was very mad, stood up, walked away. And then the lady stood up at the same time and like slapped, like high five. And so anyway, that's my funny lead balloon joke.
Cut to the quick of the matter. So I think he just couldn't stand it, and you just told the truth.
I was just pointing the elephant out in the room. I mean, if he stood up and started speaking Latin and reading off a scroll, I would have ran away.
Well, I think we can take this time as a great time to be together tonight, to share with one another, Indigenous peoples. I was at the service yesterday. I also said, if you're in this room here and you're white, you're an Indigenous people, and they usually don't say, no, my skin's not brown, And I said, yes. When Paul crossed the Aegean Sea, he went into an indigenous world. It was called Europe. And so you are indigenous people at one time. And now you've changed that and created everyone else to be indigenous except for you. So that world is, changed over 1,500 years. We're all loved by God. We're all in the image of our Creator, white, black, yellow, green, all of us. We are all loved by God, and you are loved here as well. I don't want to take us on too long because we got to get back. There's a football game on. I got to get to. So Monday Night Football. Got my priorities, I told Ken's congregation here, I says, I can't be to church at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. I got a tea time at that time. I'm going to do 9 holes before I go to church. So, well, thank you, everyone. I want to turn it over to the Grovers for our closing song here. And if we were all together, we would do a round dance like we did over at the church there. Yeah, Ken, it was just, I don't know. He says they've danced before, but I really pulled them out of their comfort zone this time. They got them all up. Even one guy, how old was he?
With an oxygen tank.
One guy with an oxygen tank was going around there too. Yeah. All right, guys. Cue it up, and then Joe, you will send us off when they're finished.
Do the old classic, John Longclaw, where he actually got the idea for the name of our gathering.
Right. It's really stuck. It's really got some power to it now. People like it, and I hear it. Like Ken, who is it? Larry Gent. He says, man, he hears about this all around. Different place he goes, he says, yeah. Good Medicine Way has got a name for itself there. So, help us. We got to keep some handle on this monster we're creating here. So help us, keep praying for us that we just continue to do a good job.
there.
Yay!
All right.
Right. That's right. If you don't have a rattle, just get your Altoid can out and you can shake that too.
Your vitamins.
Get your vitamins out there.
Medicine bottle out.
Joe,
Yes, sir.
there you go. The man with the heritage, the Spanish heritage there.
The Spanish Heritage Parade.
No, we'll go a different direction.
All right.
I was thinking through this today, and we're all indigenous from somewhere, and that's a good thing. And I need you to be connected in the ways to creator and creation just as much as you need me to be connected in the way that I was created. And so if you're from Florida or from Nova Scotia or from Iraq or Germany or wherever, do something today to connect in that way to creator, to creation, to the spirit that gives us all life. So I have an old prayer, just something to leave us off with. So it said, may the sun bring you new energy by day. May the moon softly restore you by night. May the rain wash away your worries. May the breeze blow new strength into your being. May you walk gently through the world and know its beauty all the days of your life. And those are what I have for us to finish our time.
Maybe so.
My daughter just sent me a picture of our son when he was full dressed in his grass dance outfit.
Very nice.
He was dancing in Virginia, and then he and I were invited to go with Jonathan Miracle to Ireland. And we did 9 shows in 13 days, and he danced that whole time there and was just loved by the people. He's proud of his indigenousness. He wants us to make him a new grass outfit now, because he's about 6 inches taller than that picture now, and he's filled out. So, well, thank you, everyone. Indigenous Peoples Day to you. Celebrate however you want. Go out to Baskin Robbins. That's a great place to check it out. So, so love you all. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you on next week. We will have Ralph Yoder, one of our friends out here from Kirkland, New Mexico. Is going to be sharing about the work they do out there with the alcohol treatment program. And it was the alcohol treatment program that I, back in 10 years ago, that I did my doctoral dissertation on. And we took that program from a 17% success rate to a 75% success rate in 10 years that I worked with them, just to show that contextual ministry can do it. You mix Jesus Christ in your culture and has good benefits. Okay, you all have a wonderful evening.
He's probably part of my tribe because my grandma was a Yoder. So
Oh yeah.
Yes, that's right.
everybody, you know.
He came